Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Meeting of the Board of Health and the Board of Selectmen. A joint meeting held via Zoom and in person at Old Town Hall. Today is Thursday, January 12th. It is 6:03 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. At this time, it will be necessary for both the Board of Health and the Board of Selectmen to call the roll. With that being said, present this evening is Mr. Peter Karen, also clerk of the Board of Selectmen. Good evening.
Good evening.
And Chairman Leonard Hall from the Board of Health.
Am I just taking roll or calling to order our portion of the meeting?
Well, you're going to call to, yes.
Okay. This time I'm going to call to order the Board of Health portion of this joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. It is Thursday, January 12th. It is 6:05, and can I get a roll?
Patrick McGovern, present.
And Nicole Mello present.
Thank you. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. The first item on the agenda for this evening is the Board of Health restructuring efforts. First is a discussion on the transfer station. Mr. Mullen?
So one of the things, the potential areas of discussion that were identified A through E, those were just really listed as like as topics that may come up in the discussion related to the restructuring. But what we were really, like I think after the last 4 or 5 months and like of talking and discussing and like in having a flow of information about the duties and the responsibilities of the health department, the health agent, how we could hopefully soon have a better stronger direction forward, and also a direction that also shapes an updated job description for a health agent. The issues that are identified in A through E, like are really just issues that may come up as part of that. But I mean, one of the things really, like what I would hope, like and maybe want to, prompt as a discussion is based on what we have heard and discussed over the last 4 to 5 months, where both board might, want to, like look at it going in terms of the direction, so we can bring all these issues really to a head. And really, so can really start to determine and develop a path forward. Really that is my, really understanding and hope. So for this process, like at this point, going into the budget process and really, having an ability to plan that forward, so we all kind of have clarity and closure, from this whole process, which has, which has been a process as we know. So,
Thank you. Mrs. Mello. regarding restructuring of health. Is the Board of Health at this time have a desire to address any of the issues A through E with a plan?
Can I start with the transfer station?
Absolutely.
I believe at the last meeting, we had discussed if we had a desire to pass on the transfer station. I think I said that I didn't feel comfortable just passing something off that we were having challenges with somebody else that possibly could cause them challenges. Mr. Ferry said that he would think about it. I don't know where we were with that. We don't want to get rid of anything because we're having difficulty to then bring it to somebody else. In that fact, I want to figure out how we can handle it without getting rid of things. So it depends on if anyone's willing and if the board wants to see transportation. I'm just picking the transportation so that we.
No, that's fine. That's a good
By
place.
item by item.
Good place to start.
Together.
Mr. Ferry, have you had the opportunity to think this over? Would you like to see things continue as they are? Would you desire to take over the responsibility of the transfer station, subject to state requirements in regards to the Board of Health's role? Because my understanding that there are some things that the Board of Health is responsible to do at the transfer station by statute.
Yeah, we've had that before. It's the Board of Health's desire we can take on the transfer station.
Okay. Ms. Mello, how do you feel about that? Or how does your board?
I would like to know how the board feels about that.
I feel that it's very willing to, that one thing on our plate, we're basically doing it now, is that correct? You're basically doing it now.
Right. I'm working with the town on that. Before the town took on a health agent, I did have it. It was part of my job description then. When he came on, it made sense because of the reporting went out. Take a look at that, to have that part of the job description went out. That hasn't moved as we heard before. So we need to identify and kind of involved with him himself. That's where we are with that.
Yes, Mr. Mullin.
So yeah, I think there are two issues that I just want to like clarify here. There is there's the responsibility of the management and the operation of of the transfer station and the costs associated with the taking of our goods and services, like of goods and and everything involved there. But I also think what Tom was mentioning is based on the transfer station being located at your landfill. We also have a responsibility as a town through the Board of Health to do the landfill. To do the landfill monitoring and make sure we're adhering to those requirements.
Right, but those are state requirements, correct?
So yes, but what but what I'm trying to say that the landfill monitoring requirements are actually, in my view, Board of Health requirements. Who actually operates the transfer station? And deals with all the revenues and expenses and the disposals of those things. It doesn't have to be the same entity responsible for the landfill monitoring.
Mr. Ferry.
Yes, Ms. Mullen touched on another factor. Landfill monitoring actually falls under solid waste. That's the management of it.
Okay,
Requires a third party, which we brought inspections.
okay.
It requires contracts right now.
And under the current structure, the Board of Health oversees solid waste,
along with myself, yes.
right,
Because I will be working with the contractors out in the field.
right.
Historically, I've done that too, even as far as reporting.
That wouldn't change because we're talking about the direct day-to-day operation of the transfer station.
Correct, that's the point I was trying to make. So the monitoring of the landfills would be separate.
Yes.
Does fall under the umbrella of the Board of Health. Working with them with the contracts can be still done also. And including the transfer station inspection has to be done. By everybody also. Sometimes historically, that's the same contract. That's why it gets tied in together. It was separated last time, it was contracted out, but before the previous contract, they were all intertwined.
Thank you. Mr. Karen,
There are a lot more employees at the highway department than there are at the health department.
that's correct.
And I think it would be a lot easier for them to take over the transfer station. The cost doesn't concern me, as far as we can budget,
Correct.
either way.
But what does concern me is February 2nd is coming.
Yes,
So I'd like to make some decisions
oh,
tonight.
yes, absolutely.
So people can be able to put together a budget and try to stay pretty close to the timeline.
The solid waste committee is certainly streamlining a lot of the transfer station and the policies and procedures. I think it's going to make it easier for whoever takes over the transfer station than in the past. So as much as it's a burden now to the Board of Health, and I understand you don't want to just pass it off, you won't be passing off what you have today. It will look a lot different in the near future. So thank you for being concerned about it, but I think it should come off of your plate.
Shortly. Mr. Agia,
Yeah, I think the selectmen should also consider that the solid waste committee is a committee that probably will stay in perpetuity. I think they're an integral part of the management and decision-making that would assist the highway superintendent in not just the day-to-day operations, but also the lineal trajectory of the transfer station, the solid waste in general.
it's only a suggestion. But I believe that it would be proper to make two motions. One, the Board of Health to vote to transfer the day-to-day operations of the transfer station to the highway department. And you so agree, a second motion to maintain your duties and responsibilities of monitoring the transfer station and overseeing solid waste, if you so choose to keep solid waste. Well, discussion.
For discussion, would you, did you put that in?
I mean, day-to-day operations is a big undertaking for something as small as us. But I don't see why it needs to change personally. It might just be my needing to learn a little bit more about the subject as to why it needs to go to the highway department. And why it's all of a sudden being taken off. I understand that we're close to February 2nd, but you know, it's tough when it's literally just the last second and things are getting ripped apart. And I understand their deadlines and things haven't been done, but with being a new board, it's kind of, it's a catch-22.
It has been, we have been having a long standing of these meetings and discussing this. So as you have just come on, it seems abrupt, but you've had many more, too many meetings about this. For this to finally come to a head would be very, very nice for it.
I agree with Karen, highway department has more employees to handle it. And we do have way too much on our plate. You're hanging on a lot.
Yeah, we've gone to show that and we want to improve. I think the only way that we're going to be able to improve is to take some stuff off the.
I'll make a motion that we transfer it over to the highway department.
Second.
And I.
Thank you. Mr. Karen, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Selectmen approve transfer from the Board of Health to the Highway Department.
I'll make that motion.
I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor, Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Now, the second one is in regards to the role of the Board of Health at the transfer station. There are two parts. You could do it as one motion, or you could split it if you so choose. Will you remain the body that oversees solid waste? They are currently a subcommittee of the Board of Health. Or would you want to, Mr. Ferry would accept transferring it over to his control? And second one would be monitoring, which I feel by statute, you have to continue to monitor the transfer station. Or that's going to create a logistics problem, and a problem with the state.
If they're gonna do the day-to-day operation, wouldn't it be easier for them to monitor it?
That's something you people have to decide. I think you may want to ask Mr. Pilling, since Mr. Pilling is the one who handles the monitoring, correct?
You are correct. Statutorily, the Board of Health is obligated to do the monitoring.
Okay. So that makes it easy, that part,
Just the monitoring aspect of it.
right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, we're only monitoring reports of the highway department.
No, we hire a third-party consultant to do the monitoring.
Oh, okay.
So basically, our goal would be to put out an RFP or whatever to get prices, and then by endorsing, the board would go to hire company A, B, or C to do the monitoring for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year terms, whatever you want to come up with.
which that would be a line item in your budget, so. Mr. Agia,
What is the current contract timeline and where are we at in it?
We have a 3 year, we're in the first year of a 3 year contract.
So we're just carrying an annual operating expense for that contract?
Yes.
do you wish to continue to monitor, to have solid waste under your control?
Does it make sense for those two things?
I believe it does, as long as this is very. Take it. They don't have the mower.
The last meeting, were you working on that? Was that something you had interest in? Selectmen?
Oh, I'm on the committee.
Right.
I don't think that would affect you anyway, because you're on the.
I'm not sure we're there yet.
Solid waste committee.
Yep, sorry.
No, I'm not sure we're there yet.
So,
Right.
but you would still stay on it.
I know, yeah.
Now that works on.
I missed your question.
He was asking if we transferred that over, if I would still be on the solid waste.
There's no reason why you couldn't still be on it. I question whether or not we're prepared to make that decision this evening.
Well, understand, and just a minute, Mr. Hayes. No decision keeps things as they are. So if you're not sure, or you don't want to change, then a no, not taking a vote, things remain as they are until you have more time to look into it. Mr. Agia.
I would agree with Selectman Karen's point about maybe not being quite there yet, but maybe the board would entertain the intent to move solid waste over to the highway department, highway superintendent, and then that would at least control the narrative of how the solid waste committee is now going to discuss solid waste, understanding that it may be broken off and brought to another department. So I think that will give us sort of the direction and the steering that we need moving forward, as opposed to right now, we're still kind of back and forth. So maybe the board would be willing to take a vote intending to move it to another department, and then we can let the process evolve.
Mr. Perry.
Yes, that's probably wise, plus some of my assistance hours needs to be addressed, as we all know, also with some of this undertaking. However, the contract things that we alluded to still is the Board of Selectmen's end result. It's either myself making a recommendation or a recommendation to the Board of Health to consider, which would finally, I believe the Board of Selectmen makes the final decision on the contracts.
Correct.
Prioritize the type of monitoring, if we're changing the type of contract, whatnot, that type of language. Definitely have to work with the Board of Health anyways, it's still there. Purview. Just last 3 or 4 years, there's been a disconnect between my department and the Board of Health. That's definitely has to be improved. At least with a liaison or the chairman, especially by the time. When you got something I don't know about it, that's not a good thing.
With that being said, you have two choices. You can vote to tentatively transfer solid waste highway department, or you can take no action and things will remain the same as they currently are and give you more opportunity at a next meeting in the interim to decide what you want to do.
To the discussion point of where we stand, does this decision make any effect on the priorities of what's coming up in the next couple of weeks? Like, will this affect any of our budgets? Will this affect?
No,
any-
it's not a budget issue.
I think we should just table as is and move on and address it at the next meeting. We can talk about it a little bit more. I think the Board of Health has a few more urgent things to think about tonight and in the near future.
Well, I think that we do have a lot of things going on. Kind of we'll get things off our plate. That's what we're looking to do.
And yeah, I see no harm in at least.
Right. So I'm ready to make a motion.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Motion to what?
Yeah, you said it roughly.
Make a motion to tentatively.
Right.
So intend and maybe ask the solid waste committee for a recommendation and to look into the issue as well. So like if there is a direction change. It can be at the recommendation of the solid waste.
We meet on the 30th.
Yes.
I think that's the point I was trying to get at, is the fact that if solid waste committee hasn't had a chance to discuss it yet, and it's not pressing budget matters for February 2nd, then just kind of entertain it, but like just not make a vote to move it tonight. Just we'll entertain it, we'll discuss it, but I think we have more pressing matters to do the next item.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second? And I'm not.
So you're tabling.
No.
So tentatively,
Tentatively come to.
You had, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion. You have tentatively agreed to transfer it?
Intent.
Just entertain the discussion.
yes.
So why don't you just table it and then discussion and then come back with a recommendation at the next meeting?
I would like
We have a
Right.
lot on this meeting.
I would like solid waste committee in particular and the highway superintendent to have some direction about what the Board of Health would like to see. If their intent is to break it away, then I would really like to leave here knowing that,
Okay.
so that we can, and I would encourage you, if you have nothing to do on a night of the solid waste committee meeting, come. They're very good meetings. We do actually have great discussion, good debate. So, and then you certainly can weigh in at that point, because no decision has been made yet.
Okay. So your motion is to tentatively agree to transfer management of solid waste to the highway department.
Did we already make that motion going on?
Yes.
But he was just clarifying it. Our motion was a little.
Right, because we have to also.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Karen, with that being said, the recommendation of the Board of Health is to tentatively transfer management of solid waste to the highway department.
Tentatively.
Tentative,
And it's their intent to eventually do this.
yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I will step down and second the motion. All those in favor? Mr. Karen,
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Now, we've had some discussion about Title V and perk test review. And that discussion is, correct me if I'm wrong, had three options. Option A remains as it is. Option B, we tie it into a 53G, or we tie it so that the fees make it possible to bring in someone to help Mr. Pilling. Or the third option is to hand off Title V and perk tests to a private firm that we would pay a fee to handle. So all Board of Health would do is pick up the phone and call them, hey, I need you to go to so-and-so's house and do a perk test, or a piece of land and do a perk test. So I'd be curious to see which of those three options the Board of Health would like to see happen.
Me personally, I'm unsure like how much doing these other options would cost in comparison to what
Okay.
we have for Todd. Because now we've taken one item off and we've tentatively taken another item off. Is there more time? Is this more of an achievable thing for him now?
So you're not ready to make a decision. That's okay.
No, I'm just opening up for discussion if anyone has any of these answers or.
I think that, my opinion is that we do both. We don't go a solid direction in either, but later. If Mr. Cohen has the time, he's caught up with everything else, then we don't need to somehow. If he is not caught up with everything, he doesn't have the time, then we do. And we get the best of both worlds.
Well, option C is a wash, because several years ago, when we had a health agent who worked independently of the town, he would bill the town a certain fee and he would collect those fees from the town. Collect those fees from the contractor, and would give the town back what his wages were, and his profit would be his income. So there's no expense when you go to option C. Would just strictly be a wash.
Thank you.
That was the private, correct?
That's going private.
Right.
But we do have somebody who's talented, and I don't think we actually, and I shouldn't speak for you. I certainly like the idea of there being a dual responsibility, especially if the perks continue as the way they're going and the items are not being achieved the way they're supposed to be in a timely fashion. As a reputation for our town, I think we have an obligation to the people who want to do this work to have somebody available in a more timely manner.
No, I agree.
Is that, yeah.
Yeah, so Selectman Karen is correct. Option C, if it's managed properly, would actually slightly produce a revenue for local receipts. Because if you have your costs and you have a contract with a competent individual, then the person needing that service would pay a fee to the town. We're done in the way that I operate my department. Plus, you would include the soft costs and clerical costs that it takes. So the fee to the end user covers all the costs. And in my case, I run it slightly positive, so we contribute to local receipts. So from a taxpayer perspective, and both from an expense point and giving the people what they pay for, that seems to work the best, and that's why I chose to operate my department that way. The person that you would go to would be under strict guidelines to return whatever it is they're doing. It's a plan review. within a certain amount of time. They would also have to respond to an inspection. They may not be the same individual, they may be multiple individuals in a timely fashion, so that, plans would be reviewed, inspections would be completed, and the user who needs those services pays for them, not the taxpayer. Under A and B, the taxpayer is still going to burden some of that responsibility. A little less in B, I'll give you that. But in A and B, the taxpayer is still, A, they bear all the costs, and B, it's offset.
Now, does the cost going to change? What's the same?
If you're asking me if there would be variations in the costs for whatever service we were looking for, I can tell you the way I operate my department is the cost is static. If I feel there needs to be a cost of living adjustment because of increase in expenses or fees on the person who's doing the work for us, then I discuss that with them, discuss that with the selectmen and the town administrator, and then we reflect that in the budget. But we also alter our fee schedule so that we make sure we cover those costs.
Right. So the fee would be the same whether we had a health agent go out or have a sub person.
I can't say that for certain because I haven't vetted the costs right now to see what they're paying for.
But I can't see in the future having two different prices, one of charges out and one of them.
No, that would be a static amount, whatever it is.
Right.
Cover each, right, exactly. I misunderstood.
My own concern is, yes, at least we have the best of both worlds. We'd only use this on the go if everything else in the office is done. If there's nothing else to do and we've got plans to be reviewed, and we might not want to send them.
Yeah, well, we won't find ourselves where we were when we had rain and we had all these people that all of a sudden wanted perk and we got very much behind. If we had another option, that wouldn't have happened.
That's what I'm saying. Correct. I'd like to make a motion that we look into doing it both ways.
And we want to specify, it sounds like we want private.
Well,
We were given three options.
You
We
want
need to specify which one.
Sounds like you want to combine A and C,
Oh, that was none, right?
right?
I would ask that before you take a vote, I ask two questions. One, if Mr. Pilling could come and sit up here. And secondly, I'd like to hear Mr. Pilling's opinion about his role and what he would like to see done with Title V's and perk tests.
I think we had A, B, and C, two suggestions. Well, those suggestions, those weren't, we haven't picked one. A, B, and
Yes,
C.
no, I just wanted us.
Was to, to generate discussion, and you can phrase the motion any way you so choose. Mr. Pilling.
Yeah, the town can go either way. Obviously, it's worked in the past. It works for other towns to subcontract out their engineering work and their perk tests and stuff. That is one way to do it. Obviously, I was brought in here to do perk tests and plan reviews and have everything in-house. So this is why we've asked for these discussions. Which direction does the town want to go? Do you want to keep things in-house or do you want to have it not in-house? So yes, there are times when we get behind in certain things. That happens, but I think even if you use an outside consultant, they're not going to be doing the perks the same week you're submitting an application. It's going to be a delay on their part too. It's not going to be instantaneous as a result of using an outside consultant. I'm not saying it won't be slower, but it's not instantaneous.
If we have multiple people to call on, if one can't do it, we call on the second party or third party. At least we need to reach out to.
Thank you. I just want to state from the Board of Selectmen. You'll notice when you look at this agenda, you do not see any public input. And in regards to the position of the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, he is not going to ask for any public input this evening. What the Board of Health does, that's truly up to the Board of Health. However, there are members here sitting in the public who, if their particular department comes up, I will allow them to address this group, should it become applicable. So I want the public to know, if I say no, those were the reasons why. And if I say yes, it'll be because that specific department is being discussed. Whether it be Mr. Perry, or Mr. Woods, or Mrs. Cooper. I don't see anything on here for conservation. Sorry about that. Okay, with that being said, Board of Health, sorry, go ahead. You, Mr. Pacheco, go ahead.
Did we have a motion on
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we consider getting, moving forward to getting subcontractors lined up. I don't want to go 100% that way, just in case. Why should we hire somebody that does get everything done in the office if they do nothing? I was about to do it. But right now, so far in time, it's necessary that we do have something.
it? Second.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we hired Todd for a reason, so, I mean, he should have the ability to choose if he wants, that we can use a
Right.
subcontractor, but
But that's why I don't want to sway.
if we're not gonna utilize him for what he's trained for, then,
Right.
you know, why have a qualification that we're not gonna utilize? So I think he should be utilized, and if he is overworked, then he can utilize a subcontractor.
Okay, our motion went into a discussion. Do you,
Sorry.
vote?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Could you, before we vote, read the motion that you voted on?
So, motion to utilize both Todd and potentially a private, the word for the consultant, thank you, consultant, in regards to Title V and perk reviews.
Karen?
I just have one question, based on, so yeah, based on the health agent being an engineer as well, like in the delineation and the professional licensing requirement of those responsibilities, are there anything, Todd, that how, so yeah, that how we structure that we, so we need to be aware of from a contracting point of view, so we don't, so you have professional license obligations. Oh, you know, that, so in terms of oversight, but are there anything that, so like, is there anything that you based on those obligations to see that wouldn't interfere, or we need to anticipate as part of that?
Well, generally speaking, when I do an inspection or a plan review, I become responsible for that work. So if some other engineer does the review, I don't want to do the inspections to sign the COC, because now I'm taking. Like if there was something, somebody else, you review the plan and I see something wrong with the plan. I can't, it's too late to change it. I'm not going to sign off on a COC, so I wouldn't sign off on a COC that another engineer did review. COC is certificate of compliance. For those.
Right.
That's the consultant that you contract with. I don't think you'll find an engineer to work with another engineer. That's not how they work. So if just to be clear, if a property is put out to a consultant, that consultant will see it through from start to finish.
I have a question for Todd. What will your responsibilities become if they do? They have recommended that the position be a dual position.
Well, and you took solid waste and transfer station away, down to housing and food.
Okay. And will
You
that,
know, this was all stuff that was kicked around for public health excellence to fill the gaps that I wasn't doing, but obviously we talked about that, not necessarily being here and spending dinner.
I'd like to stick to the agenda. And the reason being that as we move things around, there are items that will be discussed that are not on the agenda. And as a result, they won't be voted on tonight, because if they're not on the agenda, they won't be voted on. The meeting law violation. So the items here this evening are things we can vote on. If we take stuff away, then we will have a further discussion on what may replace it or how that will impact his hours. You understand what I'm suggesting? That, yes, we are taking some things currently off the Board of Health's plate, and they have voted to do that. But there are some things that haven't been discussed that Todd does. And there's some things that the Board of Health, because of the individuals that were on the Board of Health before, did to help the Board of Health. Mr. Pius, Ms. Catavia, Mr. Tanis, they all had certain skills that took them in the field. Well, they're not here now. Somebody has to do that. I think the Board of Health should have suggestions who that may be. They may want to get a private person to do it, or they may want to ask Mr. Pilling to do it. And obviously, that will be a discussion. So I'd like to keep this agenda, and then down the road, if there are additional duties and responsibilities that are done that we don't, meaning we, the Board of Selectmen, don't know that Todd does. And if they aren't getting done, then maybe they will be able to get done by the Board of Health, since we've taken some of it off his plate. You know, one of the things that I'm well aware of, and we had a discussion at the last meeting, was there were many things that you asked Mr. Aguirre and Ms. Pinto to pick up, because the Board of Health didn't have the time to get them done. Well, those things that, you know, he's doing so we can stay in compliance and don't get in trouble. Maybe next year it'll free up, so Mr. Aguirre won't have to do them. Mr. Pillen can do them. So that's why, you know, staying focused on what we have in front of us this evening makes for a productive meeting, and we don't get off on side tangents. So sorry about that.
No, that's okay. I guess the reason why I asked is what does a day for Todd encompass? And not that I'm looking for, this is what I have to do, or this is what I do. We have you for a reason. And if we're going to subcontract some of these items out, what do you end up by doing? What becomes of the time that you won't be out there doing perks? I mean, we're going to be paying you the same amount whether you're doing perks or not.
I would hope the Board of Health, once we've taken things, which we have done, the Board of Health will sit down and say, okay, where do we go from here? What is our next step? We've taken some things off. What are things that aren't getting done? And I don't know that. You people know that.
Right.
What isn't getting done? Who do we give that responsibility to? Then you come before us with a plan, and we discuss it and vote on it.
May I?
Certainly.
I think that will become more obvious now that we've taken these things away, and then we would go and revisit the health agent's job description. And then it would be, we could see the answer Peter Karen's easier once we can get that.
And I think you had a very valid point to ask what else he would do, because if we're taking too much away from Todd, what's the point? You know, I think that's a very valid question. I think that's a very valid discussion as to what's left. You know, we hired him for a reason. If he has an engineering certification, let him do his job. And if he needs help, he can call an agent. And I think that that point that we just discussed should be how it goes.
Okay.
Okay.
And the only thing I want to say is also we gotta consider, we don't have an office manager yet.
Right.
So how can we restructure everything right now when we don't even have that person in place? Once we do have an office manager, it'd be easier for us to figure this all
And Mr. Mullen, can weigh in on this. Position of office manager is a union negotiated that up to and at this very moment is based on the current contract, which very shortly, like within the month, negotiations on a new contract will take place. Your job description for the office manager, unless the union weighed in on any changes and voted to accept the changes, is the one that you're hiring this person on. Am I correct, Mr. Mullen?
Yes, and the job description was redrafted, especially through the wage and compensation study to be more non-specific. So it did have the ability to evolve as, as any changes may evolve as well. So I don't think, and there would be anything in conflict based on what we're discussing here this evening and what could happen in the future with that job description. I think it's all in harmony.
So what you're saying is that it is open to movement responsibility
Yeah, flexibility, yes.
to the office manager.
Yes.
Mr. Pilling.
Specifically to the role of the office manager based on the roles, functions, and responsibilities of the Board of Health.
Okay, thank you. On the issue of the Title V, your motion was to remain with a private consultant and helping Mr. Pilling, is that correct?
If need be, if he finds himself that he, in some of the positions that we found ourselves recently, needing extra help, that yes, he would utilize a private consultant.
Thank you. With that being said, I will entertain a motion that the Board of Health vote to approve the Title V and PERC test reviews be under the responsibility of Mr. Pilling, with the ability to involve a private consultant should a workload need arise.
Karen, do you have that? Okay. Can you read it back to me? Exactly what,
Yep.
on the vote on?
Motion that the Board of Health vote to approve the Title V and PERC test reviews remain under the responsibility of Mr. Pilling with the option to hire a private consultant.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
I will step down and second it. All those in favor, Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull, it's an aye. Thank you. Now, I just want to clarify that. Mr. Pilling, should he feel it's necessary to farm out the work, the Board of Health, they have a vote on that, or are you giving that discretion to Mr. Pilling to decide?
I think that's not on the agenda, but
I'm sorry?
Paul had mentioned that it's not on the agenda, if we should speak about that.
Okay, well, no, that's fair enough. All right, thank
It
you.
gives us some time to think about it as well.
Okay, thank you. Was there any further questions on stormwater? I'm sorry, on Title V and perk test? Move on to stormwater. Regarding stormwater, one of the things that I'd asked 2 months ago was for stormwater and the Board of Health have a meeting to discuss the number of hours Mr. Pilling would work doing stormwater business. And secondly, would determine when Mr. Pilling would be doing stormwater business. And best of my knowledge, those meetings did not happen. So does does the Board of Health have a recommendation, or do they need more time to discuss this?
I was just recently aware that you requested to have a meeting with them. I haven't been here that long. The stormwater committee is underneath the Board of Health. So I think that's something that the Board of Health can discuss and make a decision on how much time we're gonna allow. There was a lot of discussion of stormwater, takes up a lot of time, and people on stormwater told me that some of them right, and we need them more in the office, so we can't have the stormwater. If we need them, we just say we need. If we can let them go for the stormwater, we do. Not stormwater have to do it themselves.
I'm not comfortable making decisions on stormwater without having meetings in stormwater, just, with solid. waste.
That's your decision.
On things like I just feel like. it's harder.
Okay.
No.
That's fine.
So you made a motion to table?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Next item on the agenda related to permitting and inspections. Now, we started into this at the last meeting. And it is pretty detailed. And I can't speak for Mr. Karen, but I can say ahead of time that I'm not ready to vote on this yet. But certainly there's need for a discussion. I know Mr. Aguirre has voiced some ideas on this subject. I know he's expressed them at the last meeting. And before I ask him to continue, Board of Health, you've heard what Mr. Aguirre had to say at the last meeting. Do you have any input on that? Or your opinion of that?
This is in regards to moving over the permits and inspections to electronics, is that what we're discussing?
Mhm.
I would really like to see that happen. I know it's gonna be a process, it's gonna take some time. It's all that I don't know, I don't understand. But I think in the end, it's gonna bring us up to a standard that we should be at.
Now, budgets of February 2nd, and we're talking software here, correct? Based on your knowledge and understanding, would you be able to give them recommendations?
We've already started the discussions with Permit Link on expanding the operations to other departments. So Administrator Mullen and I have already connected with them, telling them that this is probably going to be something that we'll do in the near future. But yeah, we would have to carry a line in the budget to pay for it. So there's two expenses with Permit Link. The first expense is the creation and tailoring of the page for the Board of Health. In my opinion, mirror what the state requirements are, the state permitting, et cetera. what I did with mine is I brought all of the standard permits, which everybody is used to, into the system. So it was recognizable when they used it. And that seems to be well received. So there's a cost for that. And then there's an annual operating cost, which is reoccurring under contract for each user who has access to the system. So those are two numbers that are static, and we can certainly get those numbers into the FY24 budget. And then, of course, the Board of Health will have to subsequently approve that budget and send it off to the BOS and Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. But I would be willing to do that.
I do have a question for Todd. There had been some concerns in uploading some of our permits and stuff like that. Are those any concerns that you'd like to discuss?
It's not a concern, it's just that, of all the permits that we, and licenses that we issue, I think only one of them is a state one, all the rest of them are local. And they need to be updated because they're forms from before Roz and I got here. And they need to be brought up to date before we would then put them in the computer, that's all. So we just gotta spend some time going through them.
Can you just clarify real quick, updating what you're looking to?
Oh, like for example, some of them don't have an email address on it, or Mr. Mullen pointed out that one of our permits didn't have any consequences if you didn't get a permit on it. So like we have to add language and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The state is also looking to change some of the forms that we are currently using, and we gotta use a whole bunch of different forms. And as part of that whole phase 3 assessment, we're gonna have to be using all the state forms to their system. So I don't know how those two are gonna dovetail together, but it's all stuff that can be worked out.
Okay.
It just takes time.
Can it be worked?
Mr. Aggie, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, okay.
Can it be worked out prior to this budgeting year, do we think? This.
Before February 2nd. I don't know.
I'm gonna lay it on the line. I can't get you a number without those forms. I need to present to Permit what they're going to be putting on your page in order for me to get a number from them to do that.
But do the forms have to be exactly how they're gonna, it can just be an idea of what we're gonna put on there? It doesn't have to be-
Right.
Okay,
So, but no, because we're not giving them the go-ahead. We're asking them for a price.
okay.
But if it's 8 forms, I need 8 forms with the basic content. So that I would need ASAP in order to make us all happy.
I have an envelope of all of them in it. It's just like saying, I was trying to update them all before we put them online.
Is there a cost for modifying the forms once they're online?
Yeah, but we wouldn't be pulling that trigger, Selectman Karen, at this point. We would just be carrying the number for FY24 budget. So this wouldn't be implemented until after July 1st.
Right.
But I want to get a good solid number so we can carry in the budget. With zero-based budgeting, that number has to be pretty accurate.
Right.
So I don't want to guess.
So that's the number that you need from us is how many forms?
I need the actual forms. I need a copy of the form.
Again, I just go back to the fact, I 100% agree with this online based permitting, it's 2023. Everything else is done online and I support that idea. However, and it's not thinking that we need to take more off the plate, it's just thinking that we only have a couple of weeks. If we can't get that number, then I don't think it should be pushed if we don't, because that zero-based budget is, we have to have that number. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mullen?
So yeah, like a few things, and number one, to the point that Chairman Hollick made, like a few times already this evening, Todd just mentioned that. So yeah. Yeah, the health agent mentioned the state, is looking at rolling out their own form system. I mean, again, we don't have any idea what the timeline or even if that will ever happen. So I think we do have an obligation to chart our own future that way. But one of the things as well, because all this relates directly to the Board of Health, and because we are actually you're now in the process of really developing an overarching plan for our remaining $1.1 million in ARPA spending. We do so in terms of the upfront building costs of the system. So yeah, we do actually have the ability to structure that like actually through an opera request and. Like and not have it included in like in our FY 24 budget as well. So like that may be an opportunity as well. So yeah, like if we don't meet the February deadline, we have another outlet to pursue as well. That might be more time. Oh yeah, time friendly. Oh, to roll this out and do it right. So
But
just a thought.
there is a outside group that awards that funding, correct?
Yes.
Not under our control, so there's no guarantee
So we.
we're gonna get that money.
So in what we would do, so like in what we would do is. And structure an application that we know actually meets all the requirements. Yeah, like, and we can work, we have an eligible, so we have an eligible availability of funding through the county. So like what the county does, they work with us to craft an application. Yeah, that once an application is final. Yeah, they basically don't have an ability to say no because we worked with them. We've worked with them to craft an eligible. We've already worked with them to craft an eligible application request.
Does opera allow to reimburse?
Yes,
So we could put it in the budget,
we could, yeah,
and then if we got the grant, we could reimburse
yes,
the money that we spent.
yes. So yeah, we can have two paths. Yeah.
Right. This way here, I want to make sure that it's not like the public excellence grant.
So, oh, sorry.
Should, maybe you'll get it. The Board of Health needs to put a plan of action in place and start doing things, getting things done. And being productive. You understand what I'm saying? Organized productivity.
100% understand what you're saying. However, this is the second meeting of pretty much that together, so we are working on it. Thank you very much, Chair.
That's not and believe me, that's not a criticism of any of it.
I understand what you're doing. I understand. Thank you.
So like in thinking about this, having time to think about this more as well, we're talking about what we're talking about in terms of a February 2nd is an operational budget request deadline. But what we're talking about is actually a capital request. So we don't like as long as we can come up with something in the next 4 weeks, we don't have to have something in.
Okay.
We don't have to have something in a number and a high number by February 2nd. So yeah, because the funding we're talking about here is not an operational request. We have more flexibility in time to come up with that number too.
So the only thing I'll need is how many users are gonna access this back end of the site. The public has access to all things that are live, which could be reviewed by board members, but you'll see exactly in real time what's being issued. But it's the back end users that we have to pay for annually. So if you just want to discuss at some point how many users you think you'll need, I can give you a static number for that.
As long as we can get them the number, I'm all for it.
Okay. Does we have any further questions or input in regards permitting and inspections? We'll move on to review and discuss trench permit for Center Street, I believe. Is that a Board of Selectmen issue or is that?
Yeah, that's just a Board of Selectmen issue. Like this week has been a lot. And like the sequencing is so kind of confusing there, but but the next item on the agenda is actually a trench permit request for Center Street.
Mr. Aguirre.
So, Mr. Chairman, the trench permit is not under your jurisdiction as mine. However, what happened with this particular request is a trench permit application came into my office this week. my office manager realized the importance of it because it involved drilling in Center Street. So even before the application was complete, she brought it to me. I quickly realized that this was going to need selectmen approval because they were going to work within the public layout of Center Street. I made a phone call to the company, found out that this is going to happen on the 24th of this month and last for 4 days. And this is in relation to boring and sampling for the DCR trail project in the rail bed. So in conversing with Administrator Mullen, we had this joint meeting. We thought this would be great. We won't miss the deadline of the 24th. We can allow them to continue with their drilling. Their permit application is now complete with my office. So I just need ratification from the board that it's okay for them to take the westbound lane of Center Street for 4 days, starting on the 24th. And I have included the two chiefs and the highway superintendent. I won't speak for Tom because he's here.
So that'll be the west lane of
Center Street
Center Street,
at the railroad between house numbers 150 and 176.
150 and 176.
And it's 4 borings,
Right.
6 to 12 inches in diameter, as deep as 70 feet. So they will take the entire westbound lane for the 4 days,
So you're asking us to,
grant a road opening permit.
Perry, yes.
Yes, I mean, I confirmed with DCR, and it's really separate. Back and forth, and then also earlier this week with Mr. Mullen, police chief, Mr. Cronin, because the high concern about the traffic problem. Schools are open, and we definitely did not want them starting before 9 o'clock at least. But we negotiated down to 8:30 to get them mobilized and get started to try to keep it within the 4-day limit. It doesn't make sense to try to get them to try to target the holidays, school vacation, or the weekends. They're doing their best.
Or 8-hour days,
No, 8:30 to 2.
8:30 to 2.
We're gonna try to keep the traffic disruption as minimum as possible.
So that'll be from January 24th to January 28th?
With the committee, yes. Police department's involved already.
Okay.
With the planning process.
Thank you.
Is there public input on this or not?
Sorry,
Is there public input on this? or-
is this involving a conservation matter? Yes, please.
Mike, do you know if this issue is one of the issues we're gonna speak about with DCR on Tuesday?
What we're meeting with them on Tuesday and discussing with them on Tuesday about is a grant related to this project, but the borings that are being discussed are like in the same areas in the same layout that they've already reviewed with you.
Right, so, but they're much deep, you said 70 feet, huh? Okay,
As deep as 70 feet is what they put on their permit.
are they gonna have erosion controls out there?
Yeah, they're a professional boring company from New Hampshire. I'm sure they're gonna make this look like easy work, but it's gonna take the one westbound lane down. And I quickly involved all the people who needed to be involved, and I'm glad to hear that they came up with a plan.
Thank you. Ms. Caledonia, I have a couple of questions. First one, does this project come under your domain?
Yes, actually, they already received approval for most of this, except for this change. I knew they were going to come back to us for the change. But I haven't heard back from them.
Mr. Karen?
I have no issues with it. Everybody did their homework.
I understand, but it also hasn't been fully approved by conservation.
Okay, so something like this, because it's, I think it could be more of an administrative thing. I think maybe between DCR and their consultant, they have a little bit of communication issues, but they were supposed to be getting me something. I can follow up with them.
Mr. Ferry, could you work with Ms. Caledonia to resolve this issue?
Yes, and all of this work about the permit is within the asphalt areas, it's very easy to contain.
No, I understand, yeah. But
Yes.
they also reached out to me that there was going to be additional areas that they needed to.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that is coming.
Yeah, this is just about the Center Street. Yeah, this is strictly
Okay.
related to Center Street. They have plans and they already alluded to working with you and keeping you in the loop and going through that process. Yes.
And Mr. Mullen or Mr. Ferry, you'll coordinate this?
Yes.
Very straggly through along, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Caledonia, you,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mrs. Goulart, does this refer to stormwater?
Yes, so since there will be stormwater control in place, I just asked for assurance that since there are members of the stormwater committee involved in this, that those involved in it in their other capacities make sure that let me say they do the inspections to stormwater control because they're going to be on site.
Mrs. Goulart, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Ferry, you good with that? Thank you. Mrs. Goulart, thank you. Because we do want to get this done within the time frame, but make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to the roadway permit request of the west lane of Center Street. Rings related to the DCR rail project from January 24 to January 28, weather permitting, from 150 Center Street to 176.
Make that motion.
Well, would we be able to, weather permitting, just with the, so with the understanding that if weather doesn't permit, it will happen after the 28th as well?
That's why I said weather permit.
Okay.
It's, that was my assumption.
Right.
Weather permitting, meaning they needed more time. And for us as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, I just want to, thank you.
we have a motion been made in second. All those in favor, Mr. Karen?
Now,
Chairman Hull is an aye. Thank you. Okay, just discussion about directions forward now. So we don't go all over the place. Could we talk about putting together, while we have everyone here, a realistic agenda of items for the next meeting? You know, obviously, two issues that were tabled, stormwater and solid waste, would something for the next meeting. What other items would the Board of Health like to see?
We've already got 2 meetings that are scheduled before to get the budget going. What was the other one we had, I'll discuss with Todd on his job?
Evaluation.
The evaluation. So we've already got 2 meetings already
Okay.
set up with the agenda.
Okay. As I said at the earlier meeting, we had hoped this to all be taken care of in December. We had said this has been going on for over a year. January is here. We can put it off longer,
No,
but I want to get it done as soon as possible for the reasons I said at the last meeting. So that's up to you. The board, when I say you, I mean the Board of Health.
how would we think that best going forward in regards to talking about Mr. Pilling's job description? If that's something that we should meet as board and then come back to you. Yeah, I know this has happened many times and it hasn't worked out. So I want to make sure that going into it, whatever we're bringing, if we're thinking that maybe it won't be accepted, it should be a joint thing so that we're not gonna have a back and forth. I just want to go into it with success because we just haven't in the past. It for various reasons, so whatever input anyone has in regards to that.
So I think the process and where board is now based on budget planning. Based on evaluations as well, like, I mean, to your point, Chair Mello. I think as part of that. Oh, coming up with a recommendation based on what. Having the Board of Health. Come up with a recommendation to propose as part of all that. Oh, that really captures the issues that were discussed here tonight. So like as well as one of the issues, because we couldn't actually think about or contemplate that until the issues that we're talking about earlier were discussed. It's not based on this, the board actually sees the management and the administration of the department. I think, I think if the Board of Health, what to make a recommendation based on that, based on where the board wants, to go and propose with its budget, an included, based on where the board is, on evaluations as well, I do think that would be a logical next step in the process. And frankly, I do think it would be healthy at this point. So that's just my thought,
For
but
the Board of Health to come back with recommendations to us. I totally agree. Mullen on that. Mr. Karen?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay. And I think based on that, you get an inclination of our willingness to work with the Board of Health. And I hope I got that point across at your meeting as well.
Yes, you did.
Thank you. Mr. Karen,
Yes, sir.
the Board of Health is going to put together some recommendations. And I asked, since Mr. Mullen and is it Board of Health or is it Ms. Mello who puts together the agenda for the joint meeting?
It's a joint effort.
Okay, that you get your recommendations together and you work with Mr. Mullen. And then that will be on the agenda for the next meeting. That work? Did you have any additional items that you'd like to see on the agenda? Okay. So, unless we have any questions, I'm sorry? Well, that's up to the Board of Health.
We've already got the schedule January 25th and February 1st. Because of the deadline,
I mean, just in terms of really processing and I think giving the Board of Health the space, in the time to make these recommendations, maybe so we have the town right now have a whole lot going on. Maybe we give the board space to do all that. So and probably more that we're not even anticipating, right? At the moment that will inevitably come up. So and then so internally we can recheck in at the end of January based on the progress that will assumingly happen and try to set something up for early to mid-February.
My only concern is that we're looking at the health agent's job description.
Yep.
Potential changes could mean change in
Budget.
Yep. And I just want to make sure that we're able to reflect that this year, since it's been so many years that we said we were going to make changes and we haven't.
So part of our annual budget process of the board. So the board's initial budget request is just that, it will be an initial budget request. There will be nothing. Preventing the board as we go on to amend that request as well.
Okay, that's an understanding I need to have.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
how about on our next meeting? We get two special meetings on our next regular meeting instead of the second Thursday. We do like we did tonight. We could meet at 4:30. We could have our meeting, and then you guys can join us.
That works for me. Yeah.
We're going to make it, we've already gone past the deadline for the budget, that behind us. Focus.
Good idea.
You had a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, we also have an office manager to hire. And that's gonna require all three of you to be part of the interview.
Yes,
And, but the next regular meeting, I believe, is on the 26th, when am I correct? February, so based on the number of applicants. Oh, that meeting may go past 6 o'clock, I think, is what Mr. Ike pointed.
are you talking in regards to when we do interview? That would be a special meeting, wouldn't it? It's not gonna be a regular meeting.
Right, the appointment usually happens at a regular meeting, unless, I mean, I don't make the rules, but that's just how it's.
Oh, are you saying,
Right.
so we've interviewed and now we're looking to appoint somebody?
I'm just looking at the timeline, there's a lot going on.
Oh, I know. Everywhere.
The other possibility, and I just want to throw it out there. I would need a week notice. But Mr. Karen, forgive me for speaking, Mr. Karen is off work on Mondays, is that correct? And I, if need be, will take a day out of work to meet during the regular day if that works for the members of the Board of Health. Mondays is usually without interfering with, his job.
The earliest I could meet on a Monday currently is at 3.
Well, then, I'm just throwing that out as an option.
Generally, I'm much more open with my schedule. It's next 2 months during the day.
I just want to get it done, Jim.
Listen, I completely understand, but there is so much on the plate right now.
But the problem is there's always so much on the plate, and this is why this has kept getting pushed. We've lost an office manager. I don't want to lose a health agent.
Amen. 24 hours in a day, guy.
So I have a little bit of an unconventional idea. Many people who are here tonight are gonna be at a 4:30 solid waste committee meeting on Monday, the 30th. If we keep that solid waste committee meeting to an hour and a half. We can have the ability of following the model that we have here tonight. With a joint meeting to follow. I mean, I know we all love meetings, but it's,
So you're saying we posted on a meeting? For when?
The 30th.
Monday, the 30th or around 6 p.m.
So we've already January the 23rd. February the 1st, deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I can be quiet. You can tell me to stop.
I read it, but most of us will be, a lot of us will be.
Well, we can't. Be there without posting on how.
We'll get it posted.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, but his first the solid waste committee is gonna go in there. Whatever. There will be a posted meeting. Will be a special meeting.
Solid waste committee. Board of Health. Meeting. And then, joint meeting.
No.
No Board of Health meeting.
And joint.
Well, we gotta post it as a Board of Health.
Well, joint rail Board of Selectmen, yeah, like you have.
So. We're gonna be on the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be us first and then.
No. No, just an idea.
Patrick was coming to the solid waste committee.
I know, that's why. So.
It works for me. I don't know how it works.
Works for me.
Question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you're a member of the solid waste committee.
Mhm.
Now,
We need to post it as a meeting.
so either way,
So yes, if you were gonna show up, we would need to know ahead of time so that we can post that agenda.
right, well, we're gonna post it,
Yes.
but we are posting it.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
put that to show up.
Yeah, no problem.
Right.
As much as you want. As much as it's fun to pop into those meetings, so.
It's not right.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yes.
Okay. So we're all set. Next meeting will be January 30th at 6 P.M.
We're all looking forward to it, Mr. Chairman.
Small, thank you. Next on the agenda, I believe the Board of Health has a recommendation for a fee for rejected mattresses from solid waste that you also voted on today.
So we're looking to have a fee for rejected mattresses. I believe it was 143. I can't find my paper.
25.
125, geez. I'm just making. 125. This is to give residents the opportunity instead of being just turned away with the rejected mattresses that we would be able to pay the rejected mattresses. Have much more to say on that. That's solid waste people, anything.
Karen, do you have any questions?
Questions, no. Comments, yes. We certainly have an issue with mattresses that cannot be returned to Ace Mattress. And we've come up with an alternative, which is with the best alternative, as far as I'm concerned, is Borges taking the mattresses that get rejected. And they take care of them on their end, but they would charge us a flat fee of, I think, 125, right? So for us, it would just be a balance. It's a way to give the resident an opportunity to dispose of their mattress with a slight additional cost to them, but not to the town.
Correct. So this would not bring any additional tax fees to the town.
Right.
With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the fee of $125 for the disposal of rejected mattresses.
Make that motion.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Is an aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Is there any further business to come before the boards? No? With that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Approves minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Approve the minutes of the joint meeting of December 12th, 2022. Thank you.
Okay, I make that motion to approve minutes.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. The Board of Health will also have to do the same.
No, we already did our minutes.
You already approved these.
Yes, earlier. Or wait, no, what are these? Oh, sorry.
The joint meet, this is the meeting on December 12th. It was the joint meeting.
Okay. All right, so can we get the approval of the November 29th, 2022 special meeting and December 8th, 2022?
No, we already did that
Oh,
at our regular meeting. Now.
I'm sorry, I was reviewing this. I don't have the ones on this one.
It's the.
December 12th,
Oh, okay,
2022.
there it is, December 12th, 2022. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Can I get a vote? No, I'm an aye.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
I will second it. Mr. Karen,
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. The Board of Health will need to do the same.
And we adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you. very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.